Good morning, good morning, good morning, everyone from Bend, Oregon here. Cloudy day today, but wanted to say happy spring to all of you. It is March and the spring solstice is upon us. Just came back from an absolutely miraculous and beautiful time at our BIPOC 5th anniversary brain spotting event in Atlanta, and had a beautiful time with the brain spotting trainers there, and the signs of spring were there. I'll share with this live. I'll follow it with a post of the first signs of spring that I saw of cherry blossoms on a tree. It was absolutely beautiful, and I've been talking a lot about kind of cumulative stress response and the cumulative compassion response. So in that, to be out in the environment, the Institute of Heart Math has done a beautiful job of capturing the story, the measurements of what we've known for a really long time about the environment and the stress in the environment, and also the beautiful connection of nature. They have a study where they actually put monitors up on trees and capture tree-to-tree communication, and then inside of that are human connection to a lot of the measurements of what goes on. And that's why I've been talking so much about getting outside and seeing the beauty that's right in front of you, as our social media feeds are dominated by stress reaction, fear, in the current times of things. Also being able to carefully monitor that compassion, watching for that compassion in every day amongst people. You know, as I travel a lot. Ooh, there went my my tripod in the wind here. A little breezy out here today. So in that, being able to monitor for compassion response in the environment around us, see it oftentimes between two kids playing, or even two people helping each other. Right now, a lot of us are kind of seeing and witnessing reaction towards each other, and in that we can also see the beauty of human relationship in our heart, in that compassion for each other right now, as people are challenged, struggled, feeling threatened, and standing up. Just having a conversation this morning with my son about that, about standing up for what is right. Had a little blip there on the Facebook Live. I don't know what that was, but in that standing up for what's right, and that's right in front of us, but to be coming from a place of compassion and heart. So, I've been referencing heart math techniques a lot. I like them because they're really, really simple. And in that, when we come from our heart, we can react and have boundaries, and respond to things in front of us from a place of compassion and even protection of people that are right there in front of us, but also to walk with that kind of highest heart sense, love, connection, compassion, etc., and to be able to gift that to each other when we're having a hard time. Be mindful of connecting with people that are in that place of compassion for each other, and being able to protect each other in that way. And one of the greatest gifts we can give is of our time, but particularly a gift of time when we're coming from a heart-centered place. So I share these slides in a lot of my keynotes that Heart Math has around compassion, and how when we're heart-centered, we walk into a space with another person who's stressed. There's a slide I share that has the measurements of how, when I'm heart-centered and in a state of what we call coherence, when I walk into a space with somebody who's not in a place of coherence, in the space of stress response reactivity, the slide that I share actually shows how the brain waves of somebody changes by me being in a space of being stable, kind, compassionate, how their brain waves will actually immediately adjust around that person, sending a message of safety, connection, collective herd slash pack response from human to human. We can, by walking in our heart, we can influence somebody in front of us. We can influence a room. In a less reactive space, we can actually change that reaction that's happening, and that's what we can do. When we can do that everywhere, wherever we go, to be heart-centered, to come to our heart and walk in any space, we can influence things in a good direction and send a message of safety to people by just being in our own heart center. The science is very conclusive on this and has been measured. We've known this for thousands of years, and we also, many of you know it by being heart-centered people. When you walk out and connect with individuals, how quickly we can influence the situation. We used to kind of play a game in the household. I walk in and have maybe a waitress that's extremely stressed on the job, and to have her be laughing by the end, it was always a challenge to be heart-centered and find something, maybe some laughter, a joke, or just how are you today, can really change somebody's experience. I did that the other day on an airplane with somebody who was kind of stressed on a flight, and inside of that, to impact and send that message of compassion and safety, we can immediately influence somebody's brainwaves. It's measured with an EEG machine. The person with compassion has a state of coherence, which is what that quick coherence is about, and then walking into a situation and watching the brain waves of that other person change without even there being a discussion, without there being an interchange, just by being in that heart-centered place. So in today's world, where a lot of people are kind of stressed, there's a lot of reaction going on, that is what we can do. We can do that every day. We can influence people around us every day and gift them our compassion, our kindness, and come from a heart-centered place. That does not mean that we don't have to have reaction towards things that are not okay, or that we have to stand up for. I love a quote. I always share it in a lot of trainings and stuff like that, which is, it's not what we preach, it's what we tolerate. And so in that, to stand up strong from our heart-centered place, to have boundaries, to not tolerate things in front of us when somebody's being unkind to another individual, etc. But to come from that strong electrical epicenter in our body that I talk about all the time with this HeartMath research. And there's actually 8 different nervous systems in our body, but one of them is the heart nervous system. And I always share these slides that show this nervous system cluster that's at the top of the heart. It's the same part that you feel when you see, a child and do something really cute, and you put your hand on your heart and say, "Oh my gosh, that was so cute, that was so beautiful." When you see maybe your grandchild or your child do something amazing, and then there's the other side of it, which is that stress response where you almost get in an accident, you feel this shock in your heart. That emotional physiology, that's actually physiology, meaning that it influences our entire body's biochemical space. It affects all of the stress endocrine system to either be in a responsive stress response or in a connection response. And so we can influence our bodies and our physiology every single day that way by developing a discipline of this work, coming out, being outside, starting my morning every morning outside, and being there and connecting with nature, which is in a pretty continuous state of coherence. It actually is measured. The HeartMath has measurements of that too, of how it ebbs and flows inside of the world and the environment. But to spend time out in nature, to recognize the beauty. I saw those very first flowers. I watched for the whole rest of the time I was in Atlanta for other signs, and that was literally the first tree in the whole region that had cherry blossoms on it. And to recognize and see the beauty before we step into our day and our life, particularly with nature, sets us in a space of coherence too. That was a gift of those cherry blossoms for me to see them and to see that beauty. So with that, really encouraging and trying to continue to talk about walking in our heart, not being in a state of reaction, watching what we're feeding ourselves with all the stuff going on, from the social media platform, and making sure every day in a disciplined way we start with connection to nature and then connection to our heart, and then stepping into our life. We can influence these things every single day by how we walk into a space. We can influence our relatives. We can influence our coworkers. I know that there's a lot of changes happening out there in people's workplaces and things like that. But in that, what we can control is being here. That's what we have influence over. And then to step into that and to be able to take action, preparation, all these things I've been talking about in the last number of feeds, and then be able to go through that in a strategic way, not from a place of reaction and fight response. And we can switch into fight response if there's something we do need to fight with. That's the right thing to fight for. But in that, to influence what's around us from that heart-centered, connected place, a place of compassion. Compassion lives in our heart. So does our fear response. That nervous system cluster on the top of the heart. We can see the world through the pain, struggle, and fight. Or we could come from a place of compassion and see the same thing, but meet it with kindness, love, connection. So wanted to say about that much this morning, to recognize too that developmental trauma influences this significantly. Developmental trauma influences us seeing through the lens that we were programmed with in early childhood, through a trauma lens. It's like putting my sunglasses on. It's cloudy today. If I put my sunglasses on, it gets even darker. Our early childhood trauma influences our ability to see those things. So it is part of the healing journey to be able to get back heart-centered and not see the world around us through our fight, flight, freeze, fawning, flop response. Those are our conversations for a different day. And we can influence that. It's discipline, and to work with our nervous system on programming it differently, to walk in compassion and connection, right? Or just says trauma replaces patterns of connection with patterns of protection. And they serve a purpose, and they serve us well when we're in early childhood. They serve a purpose in today's world when there's a lot of things going on. But at the same time, we can make that pattern of connection more dominant in our lives. You can influence that directly. So just inviting you to come to your heart today. And all we have to do is tune into that area of our body, and it already starts to influence it. While we're doing that, noticing our breath. And now that my amygdala isn't in stress reaction mode or reading signs of stress response, activate appreciation or gratitude, our attachment pathway, and feel that connection to somebody, something in our life that we have great connection and love for. So with that, that's today. Have a beautiful day, you all. Walk from that compassionate heart space today, and react as you have to protect things that you love or care about. But come from a place of centeredness when you do it, from your heart center. Have a good day, everybody.